Welcome to Equipping and Building. I'm Tariq Khan, your host. I'd like to talk to you today about substitution, a concept of Quranic interpretation that one of the caliphs of Islam said was so important that it's the difference between understanding and not understanding Islam, and also being a Muslim and not being a Muslim. According to the Quran, when God wanted to say something better than an existing verse, or to say something like it with another verse that was better, he would give Muhammad the better verse. That process of giving the better verse is substitution. It does not injure or abrogate the previous verse. The meaning, though, is replaced. The process has been described as suspension and replacement. Muslims argue that substitution of one verse for another in the Quran is much like God giving the New Testament as a substitute for the Old Testament. Christians know that isn't actually true because the Old Covenant, the Old Testament, was fulfilled by the coming of Jesus, and the New Testament is what happens after. But again, I want to make sure that we look at Islam and the Quran not through my eyes or our eyes as Christians, but through the eyes of Muslims and what the Quran says about it, because that will tell us what they believe. That's what I'm trying to do. Here are some of the verses, two of them actually, that are in the Quran referring to the substitution process that I'd mentioned. This is Quran 2:106. What we abrogate of a sign, or we cause it to be forgotten, we bring better than it or similar to it. Do not you know that Allah over everything is all-powerful? Again, that's Quran 2:106. The next one is Quran 16:101. When we substitute one revelation for another revelation, and Allah knows best what He reveals in stages, they say, "Thou art but a forger," and that's what people were saying to Muhammad. But most of them understand not. Muhammad received revelation in essentially two phases. The first one, his first 10 years as a prophet, were in the city of Mecca. Most of the peaceful verses came then, including admonitions to go to the people of the book for understanding. There's no compulsion in religion, allowing God to rightly guide people rather than forcing them to change their minds. Most of the more militant verses in the Quran come in a period in which Muhammad became a military leader in Medinah. There's much disagreement, even controversy, over which verses are substituted, if any, and by which verses. Substitution is not a minor thing in Islam. Not understanding it properly can lead to not understanding what it is to be a Muslim. And that importance is shown in the following story about Caliph Ali. The caliphs were the four leaders of Islam after the death of Muhammad. They were very important. So this is about Caliph Ali. He was either the fourth or the first caliph, depending on Sunni or Shia. Caliph Ali indicated to a preacher that because he, the preacher, did not understand the substituted and substituting verses, that he lacked understanding, therefore was not rightly guided, and was leading others astray. In Quranic terminology, not being rightly guided means you don't follow the path of submission of Islam, and that means you're not a Muslim. And if you're leading others astray, you're taking them off of that path. So it's pretty powerful to understand this. We're going to talk about the application of this to our subjects in the next video that's been published today. It's going to be called the same as this title, Part 2, and it'll cover the application to Sunni-Shia conflict, to Sharia, jihad, treatment of apostates, and treatment of Christians. Thanks for watching.